Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Unitarian Church in Fallbrook, Massachusetts. And now we will begin with our beautiful service of the day. Let's go.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm very happy to have made it here this morning. It was a very uneventful trip this year. Plymouth. But 2 years ago, I was in a car accident a couple miles away and didn't make it here, so very happy to be invited back and to actually be here. You'll see that I have various holidays on my mind in these readings and in my sermon. No matter who or what you are welcome here. Let's be clear. Here we welcome goblins and ghouls, saints and sinners, angels and devils, zombies and werewolves, vampires and witches. We welcome princesses and princes, paupers and farmhands, aliens and astronauts, robots and cyborgs, firefighters and police officers, nurses and doctors, cowboys, cowgirls, cowfolk of all varieties. We welcome Superman, Wonder Woman, Black Panther, Batman, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Thor. Indeed, we welcome both superheroes and superstars, and all the rest of us. In short, we welcome people, monsters and all other manner of creatures. Here we welcome you, and all of you, and all of who you are. We continue with our chalice lighting. As we kindle this flame, we honor and remember those who have passed into the mystery. Their brightness lives on in our vision. Their courage lives on in our commitments. and their love continues to bless the world through us. We continue with hymn number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. Are there any announcements this morning?
Affirmation.
First, we want to do our affirmation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes. Let us continue with the affirmation printed in the order of service.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is prayer. Dwell together in peace, to seek the knowledge of freedom, to serve human being, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus we can love each other and
We're having some technical problems with the religious discussion group. Some of it has to do with assuming passwords, and some of it has to do with people's understanding of what it's about. So I'm going to pass you're not committing yourself, but if you have some kind of interest in the religious discussion group, if you might be interested in the religious discussion group, I'm asking you to put your email address here, and I'll send out a kind of poll, and we can talk about things like time and that sort of thing. And just pass it around for the service. Oh.
Good morning, Vera. Thank you so much for being able to join us today. Good morning to the breast cancer family. I wanted you to know that Ruby will be here with us next week. She has recently graduated from school and has not ordained yet, but she is now a graduate, so we're really excited to have her come back too.
We do have one announcement. We have a basket that's up front here. If anyone has any small items to bring to the church, you might want to pass on to the homeless, or we can give to some of the area of places around. I know there's one on Plate, uh, Bay Street, which is a convenient place for a lot of the homeless people go, and that's where they meet and get clothes. So that's a nice little area to shoot. So we're gonna be collecting clothes every week. If you wanna bring little items such as a pot, a pan, or some spatula, or a silverware, or something like that, will help somebody get into an apartment. To move into an apartment, those are things too. But a lot of the clothes, I mean, we know about Thursday clothes, as we know that tonight's gonna get down in the 40s. So think about the people that are out there sleeping, who have nothing, who have to deal with that type of crime. So just a little bit of something here and there each week to build up so we can bring it to our community place so that they can help out other people's in need.
What about non-perishable food?
Well, if it's in cans and stuff, yeah, I can see that. We can probably bring that to Richard, we can probably bring canned foods. Yeah, we can, it all goes to the same place, like I say, the needs here, there's like good 5 places in the area that we know, the clothing and stuff like that, so if we can get on top of this each week, every Sunday, and have a nice load we can distribute around, that would help out. Thank you.
David's not here at Seton Hospital.
Yes, I will,
Deb usually says this.
well, I can do the
Bless
code,
the
of
articles.
course, in the articles is every Friday, as we try to do on, at 9 a.m. If you need the coordinates, you can get in touch with Richard, he can give you the password and code if you want to get into that, and if not, it's up to you, it's your choice. But David right now is still in the hospital, and he's recuperating and getting better. Oh, what was the other one? Mary? Who's in the hospital?
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Oh.
So in a few weeks, it will also be All Saints or All Souls Day that many people recognize. This is a Unitarian Universalist view of that. Welcome, all you saints. Yes, you are saints, all of you are saints. For it is not by perfection that we are sainted, rather it is by our actions. It is not by perfection that we are sainted, rather it is by our presence. It is not by perfection we are sainted, rather it is by our giving. It is not by perfection that we are sainted, rather it is by our living. It is not by perfection that we are sainted, rather it is by our gathering together in love, with love to become a nurturing, welcoming, healing, and faithful worshiping community. So welcome all you saints. Let us join together in the spirit of prayer and meditation. To the God of our own understanding, the Spirit with whom we commune this day, we ask that our minds be open, our hearts welcoming, our arms embracing. We lift up those whose lives are touched by sadness, illness, by worry, or by loneliness. May they find comfort, hope, and healing and strength. We celebrate those whose lives are whole and well. May they share their strength with those who need and find warmth and love in the sharing of their spirit. Amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Spirit and of sin. You in the air, giving life the shade of justice. Root Holy Ghost, wings set me free. Spirit of mine, come to me, come to me.
About 2 years ago, I returned to my work as a hospital chaplain, this time at South Shore Hospital, and I'm really enjoying being there. It's a friendly place and people are very committed to providing excellent care for all patients. Chaplains accompany patients, family, friends, and staff at joyful and sorrowful moments. Being fully present to the experience of the person you are with is critical to the job. And one of the ways that I believe I demonstrate our unique principle of honoring the worth and dignity of every person. I believe we underestimate the importance of really listening. We all long to be understood. We all desire acceptance. And if we are lucky, we all have people who truly listen, who accept us, and who encourage our dreams. The gift of our attention and understanding makes people feel validated and valued. Being truly listened to means that we are taken seriously, that our ideas and feelings are known, and ultimately that what we have to say matters. I want to remind you, because you already know this, that the greatest gift we can give this holiday season to anyone, young or old, sick or healthy, is the gift of understanding and acceptance, and that we can do this sometimes by simply listening, being totally present and giving the gift of ourselves. The supply chain delays that we're still hearing about won't stop us from giving the gift of our time, our love, and our presence. But how honestly can we say we do this? We multitask, we pick up our phones or the remote. We half listen. I'm guilty of this too. Perhaps this holiday season, we can try to notice the ways we become distracted from each other and make a more compassionate choice to truly listen. Maybe we can even put the phone away, turn off the TV, put down the book, or whatever it is that's getting in between you and the person who speaks. I may have shared this story before, but I think it's worth repeating. It's said that President Roosevelt, who often endured long reception lines, decided that the guests were never truly listening to what he was saying. One day, he decided to try an experiment. As each guest arrived, he greeted them, smiled politely, and said, "I murdered my grandmother this morning." As he anticipated, people responded with such comments as, "Marvelous, keep up the good work," and even, "We are proud of you." It was not until the end of the line when the ambassador from Bolivia actually listened. He leaned over and said, "I'm sure she had it coming." When we understand the healing power of listening and our ability to heal our important connections, we can even begin to listen to things that make us uneasy. For many people, speaking or listening to others express their choices for end of life makes them uneasy. But I can promise you, it will be 100 times, maybe 1,000 times more uncomfortable if you are suddenly in the position of having to make healthcare decisions for someone in an emergency room, an intensive care unit, and if you have no idea what they would want. As a chaplaincy student many years ago, I was encouraged to ask patients who were doing well and getting ready to go home if they had a healthcare crisis, if they had named someone to make decisions for them if they couldn't. Many people said yes, and I imagine many people here would say yes. I soon learned to also ask if they had ever spoken to the person they had chosen about what they would and wouldn't want. The answer was often no. Sometimes they would sheepishly admit that the person named in the document didn't even know they had been chosen as the healthcare decision maker. Really? So imagine this, it happens a lot more than you might think. The hospital calls the relative or the friend listed on the healthcare proxy form, and they are shocked that they are the healthcare proxy. They had no idea. And they are suddenly being asked to make decisions about ventilators and feeding tubes or emergency surgeries. I see almost daily the deeply painful and totally unnecessary suffering that happens when patients, family members, and friends have never discussed end-of-life decision-making. I seriously doubt that most patients, who at this point may have machines breathing for them and keeping other parts of their bodies going, ever imagined that their family members would suffer this way on their behalf. If they had known, maybe they would have gotten over their temporary discomfort about expressing their wishes. So in addition to giving the gift of listening this holiday season, I am here to encourage you to give the gift of peace of mind. Spare your family and friends a lot of pain and suffering. They will be upset enough that you are ill or were in an accident. More specifically, I would like to encourage you to use the upcoming holiday get-togethers or even holiday phone calls when you are hopefully feeling healthy and well to talk about your wishes. Maybe in between the turkey and the football games, or when you're having that extra piece of pie after dinner. You might say, "Don't worry, I'm healthy now, there's nothing new going on, but I want to make sure you all know what I would want if there's no hope of my recovering from an illness or an accident." Or you might say, "Over the past few years, seeing all those COVID patients on ventilators and dialysis on TV has made me think more about what I might want later in life." Or, "I had such a hard time when I had to make decisions for my parents that I want you to be crystal clear about what I would want done when the time comes so you don't have to guess." Or even, "I know it would be difficult for you to have to make medical decisions if I can't myself. So I have asked, for example, my friend Ruth to be my healthcare proxy." Reverend Wayne Arneson, a UU minister, says, "The second and fourth UU principles say that we promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Searching for truth is usually understood as the search for meaningful understandings of the universe and our place in it. But I think this principle also implies a commitment to truth in human relationships. And I think that truth and compassion in human relationships can include letting people know our hopes and fears for the ends of our lives and sparing them additional suffering." The following facts are a little old, but I doubt they have changed much. The Conversation Project, a great local resource, tells us that more than 90% of people think it's important to talk about their loved ones and their own wishes for end-of-life care, but that less than 30% have had any kind of discussion. 60% say it's extremely important that their family not be burdened by tough decisions. 56% of the same people have not communicated anything about their wishes. 82% say it's important to put their wishes in writing. 23% have actually done it. In Massachusetts, the healthcare proxy form is readily available. It's free and simple to fill out. You don't need an attorney or to spend money to appoint someone to handle healthcare decisions. You do need 2 witnesses, another reason to take care of this over the holidays if you're entertaining. Unfortunately, getting the signature of the person you appoint is optional, but I highly recommend that you have the form signed by the person you select. Copies are acceptable, and you don't need anything notarized. You could even fill one out here with members of the congregation as your witnesses. I do want to note that the process to appoint a power of attorney for financial decisions is different, and it is recommended that an attorney help you with that. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen. Diseases strike or progress faster than expected. We all think we have more time. In hospital settings, people often say, "Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst." I have personally, probably like others here, been in the situation of being asked to make decisions on behalf of a loved one who could no longer express their wishes, or who no longer had the legal capacity to make their own decisions due to dementia or other debilitating conditions. These are not easy decisions even under the best of circumstances, but they are significantly more difficult when you don't know what the patient would want, and your desire is to honor their wishes. If you are a parent with more than one child, the gift of communicating your wishes may keep your children speaking to each other and maintaining their relationships after you are gone, something that most parents desire for their children. I'm very serious about this. Every day, the team of doctors, nurses, social workers, and chaplains who work in the intensive care unit meet to review how patients and families are doing. And several times a week, we have some version of this scenario. We see adult children or siblings of the patient or other combinations of family members who are arguing in person or on the phone in locations across the country about what a parent or loved one would or wouldn't want, because no one knows. And adult children often have very different outlooks on life, religion, spirituality, and may strongly disagree about how to proceed. We watch the peace and comfort that the staff has created for the patient evaporate. Sometimes security even has to be called, all because no one wanted to be uncomfortable for a few minutes ahead of time to say, I don't want to be kept alive on machines if there's no hope of recovering enough to enjoy the things I enjoy. Or to say, I want to be kept alive as long as possible, and I want whatever treatments are available. Or I would or wouldn't want a feeding tube to provide the nutrition my body needs if I have an illness I'm expected to die from. Or I would or wouldn't want a mechanical vent breathing for me, unless it would be a temporary help for me to recover. I'm not here to encourage you to make a particular choice. I admit I was tempted to do that after some cases I have been involved in quite recently. But your choices and your decisions may be very different than mine, and that's fine. What matters is finding someone you can trust to follow through on your wishes. Is the person you have chosen assertive enough to ask questions and to help the medical team understand what we call your goals of care? I met an elderly patient with significant cardiology problems that were limiting her activity. She said I could share this story. She said she would be happy as long as she could watch her favorite Boston sports teams, especially the Red Sox, with her family and eat ice cream, almost any flavor. Everyone who knew her agreed that these things made her life, while limited in many ways, worth living. Because her children all knew this to be true about her, they also knew when treatment should end and when comfort care should become the focus of her remaining time with them. I think if we're honest, we all know where we would draw the line in terms of quality of life versus quantity. For each of us, the details about what makes our lives worthwhile will be different. So I know that these conversations are challenging. So I would like to offer to do some phone coaching with you. If you want to prepare to have one of these conversations with a family member or friend, I am glad to practice with you and help you come up with language that works for you and expresses what's important to you. We can anticipate and address any roadblocks. I would be glad to answer questions about forms or any concerns you might have. And we could consider who might be the best person to honor your wishes. It may not be the first person you think of. For example, my mother knew that my father would be a great caregiver at home and would support her choices 100%, but that he wouldn't be the best healthcare proxy because he would be too emotional and had a hearing problem as well from World War II. He was visibly relieved to not be the primary contact for the medical team. He was the obvious choice, but he wasn't the best choice. And of course, he was involved in all the decisions. Maybe you have questions about the value of CPR or artificial hydration or nutrition. Most people believe, because of TV, that CPR is much more effective than it really is, and are unaware of how painful it can be, and that many people, probably most people, don't ever fully recover neurologically. Most people think that CPR is effective more than 70% of the time. The reality is more like 10% outside of the hospital and just 20% in a hospital setting. Another myth is that hospice accelerates the dying process. Can't tell you how many times I've heard that. Dana-Farber and the Brigham did a research study that showed that hospice patients actually live longer, presumably because of all the medical and emotional support they receive from the hospice staff. So as we move towards the holidays, I would love to help you give this gift of peace of mind to yourself and your loved ones. Kit and Eric have my contact information, and I would be delighted to hear from any of you if I can be of any help. Best idea would be to email me so we can set up a mutually agreeable time, and any conversations would, of course, be confidential. So as we celebrate all the holidays this year, may we all remember those who truly need our listening presence more than our physical presence. May we express our love in more direct ways than gifts. And may we be peacemakers with our circle of family and friends. It is time now for the morning offering. Let us continue with our joys and concerns. Some of us come today in joy. We share your joy. Some of us come today with heavy hearts. We open our hearts to you.
Some of you know who Susan Lowell Powers is. She and her husband have recently been attending. She's related to Vera. Got an email from her husband at 1:30 saying, please pray for Susan Lowell Powers, who's in the ICU with trauma hospital. That's all. And somebody please talk about Vera. She's also.
I enjoyed the service. I was contemplating the situations I've been in the past couple of years about the same thing. The lens is, being at this age, you don't really anticipate being in a catastrophic end of life kind of situation. And the difficulties I sort of have with that is that there's such a disparity of medical care depending on the kind of money that's available, kind of insurance people have. It's not equitable at all. The technology is changing so fast, but a lot of the care that people are given, my experience, in my life of, with education and whatnot, I mean, there were technologies that we were using to do experiments on animals that are just making it in the way, today into the hospital. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like mind-boggling that, this stuff has been around for 40 years, and they're just beginning to use that stuff now. I can imagine what they're doing in hospitals. And so it's like, for example, artificial organs or something like that. It's like, well, am I going to put this patient, a friend, a loved one, through the talk, the turmoil and excruciating experience of attempting to change, an organ, with the level of care that's being given, versus, hey, this works. I mean, this can save a life. And, I'm still like that. I'm still in the same situation. I'm contemplating your sermon, and I'm saying, yeah, I'm thinking of my son or maybe a loved one. Even today, that's like, those are unbelievably difficult decisions. How much money, am I going to take from my family and my inheritance, that I'm going to pass down, to try to save me when it's only going to give me, a month, let's say, is it worth it? And so Dave Ranke, for example, so he sort of got catastrophically ill, and it was just as you described, very rapid. The symptoms approached, extremely fast. Went into the hospital. He was not very particularly cogent, initially. It was really amazing as a doctor. We were helping him with the doctor appointments and stuff. I couldn't believe that they didn't admit him much sooner. And he ended up getting there by ambulance. His wife Kathy, which has all the decision making, and she's emotional, right? And plus she has some cognitive stuff that's happening now at that age, and so she's not really able to make these kinds of decisions. Luckily for him, that he's starting to see, he's doing much better. But this is going to be a much longer process than I believe that he anticipated or that Kathy, anticipated. He maybe have to go to rehab and stuff like that. So his entire life is about to change. I mean, really, he was a very, I don't know if you ever met him before. He was doing the Course in Miracles and Dream Study, and we used to have breakfast and a meditation group. I mean, he was a nonstop, constantly on the go. And this is going to absolutely, completely change his life in the near term, So So yeah, he needs your love and support. Maybe a call. He was very weak. So he was constantly in and out, so he must have, you know how he is with his phone. He must have like 50 messages on his thing, and forget about email or text. I mean, he's just forgetting, but anyway, he probably would appreciate a call. You could always call, I did notice that it was actually amazing to me. He has a phone in his room, and it's a private room, right? So I guess most of the rooms now are kind of private. Anyway, he has a phone, like a regular old-fashioned ring-a-ding phone, in the room, right, and it has its own number. And so we were there visiting, right? So we were visiting, and that phone rang. The nurse actually came, in to answer because he can't get up. He's still not ambulatory yet. That's going to be an interesting process. So she answered that phone. So presumably, they're attentive. The nurses have been, I'm pretty actually amazed at the level of attention that he's been getting. So that's reassuring. But yeah, all this stuff is, it's apropos. I can't believe, you're talking about it. And here we got, as a congregation, might be going to look at one of our own. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the update. And I encourage you to make sure they have a social worker from the hospital helping them. Because the social workers really understand the financial impact of everything. And there is good care out there, depending on your circumstances. And the social workers are the best resource, but the love and support of everyone here will be a big help. Other joys or concerns this morning?
I'm told my budget.
Real close.
It was, I told her I was in a great mood and I woke up and they almost was sick. And I had to get dressed, but the best of himself, but he had to come up and get me. And I had written her on railroad. And she just kept being with me, and by the time I get here, I'm still in a little pain, as you can tell, because I keep yelling at mom. But, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. That's it, thank you.
For all the sorrows and all the joys that we hold unexpressed in our hearts, let us take a moment to remember and to rejoice. May the peace of this sanctuary enter into our hearts as we share a quiet moment together. Our closing hymn is number 350, the ceaseless flow of endless. For those who came before, we offer gratitude and thanks. May their memories be a blessing. May we feel surrounded by their love as we go forth from this time and place. Let us be inspired by their courage, their wisdom, and their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating heaven on earth. Amen and blessed be.
Donuts and cake over here.